Christian Cage, at last and once again you're on your own. Yes, Christian Cage is once again a heel, to the shock of absolutely nobody if you possess any level of an attached brainstem. But nevertheless, should be interesting to see where that goes. I'm John Renton with my review of AEW Dynamite Road Rager, this Wednesday on TBS in St. Louis, Missouri. Let me know your thoughts on this show in the comments, please. Boy, with AEW versus New Japan Forbidden Door just around the corner, literally 10 days away, they just threw a bunch of shit at the wall and said, fuck it, New Japan, fly some people over. We need to do some shit. We'll take some of the guys that we took from you and we'll just human centipede all this shit together and we'll just throw something at the wall. We'll just keep throwing shit at the wall and just more run-ins, loud noises. Look, the show actually had some good stuff, but it almost got to the point where it was a little bit too busy, a little bit too much of the Jasshole Society, as it were, and, well, let's just talk about that. Let's hear it for the Judas, because, well, Jericho and his goons come down, and then Dasha, as the ring announcer, keep this going. Justin Roberts should not be the ring announcer anymore. He's just not that good. Dasha has life and energy and enthusiasm, and doesn't have scandals around her like Justin Roberts. Nevertheless, Jericho Aniston, the Grand Wizard himself, against Ortiz in a hair versus hair match. Boy, this was... I knew what was going to happen. I'm not even upset at the result. It's just they had to do, oh, so many smoke and mirrors. Whoa, because Jericho can't fucking go anymore. Good fucking grief. He is washed. So Regal's on commentary. Eddie's in Ortiz's corner, and the Jasshole Society, they're there as well. A jump start by Ortiz, and it just, God, Ortiz tried to make this work. It just wasn't very good. We get near falls. We get a bunch of, we do get a nice, false finish with the Walls of Jericho. That was actually pretty nicely done. But then we get a melee because everybody just suddenly, runs out. Eddie decides to attack every single person, even popcorn vendors, because Eddie Kingston is just that goddamn nuts. And then suddenly, Santana and Yuta show up, and JR actually has a line that was just fucking great that I had to write down. Where the hell have you guys been? JR taking the piss out of everything that doesn't make sense, i.e. quite a bit of this stuff. Eddie then hits the back fist while the referee's distracted. And then, just for two, oh no, it looked like he was going to get the victory, but he didn't. And then Hager's cheetah print clothing. Who the fuck dresses Jake Hager? Genuine question. If he is dressing himself, if it's like Ralph Wiggum, I dress myself. If he's picking out these clothes, then he needs to be slapped around. Because these are really, really bad fashion choices. That's all I'm going to say. And then suddenly, Fuego del Sol shows up and hits Ortiz. It's clearly Sammy. It's clearly fucking Sammy. Jericho won, by the way. And it's like, Sammy, what have you done? Sammy, once again, joining Jericho, because they made Sammy so goddamn unlikable, or rather, he made himself unlikable by doing what he fucking did with Ty Conte, that now they just decided to turn him heel and put him back there. Maybe they'll get rid of one of the people. Maybe they'll cut Jake Hager because nobody really wants Jake Hager around. And then Ortiz shaves his own head. Well, Eddie basically says, this ain't done. And then Ortiz shouts blood and guts, blood and guts, blood and guts while he's shaving his own head. I knew that Jericho wasn't going to want to part with whatever rat's nest and hair plug, mess he has on top of his head. But good fucking grief. If Jericho ain't done by the end of this year, it's going to be a fucking disaster. He has contributed nothing positive to AEW in at least the last year and a half. So anyway, video package that's almost like Judge Judy-like or whatever, the plaintiff, the defendant, all this stuff and everything, because Wardlow is going to take on 20 people. Yes, really, this is something they are deciding to go through with. Wardlow gets a pop, a big one, and new music. And then he takes on 20 plaintiffs, aka security guards, while Sterling, in a neck brace and a very, very loud jacket out of the Cornette playbook, except Sterling wishes, he's running around and everything, and 20 people get beat up. Wardlow beats them very, very quickly. There were some Wardlow chants. This wasn't good. It got the point across where he beat up people, but why? Why exactly is this happening? And then all the plaintiffs have been eliminated, and this case is closed. That was something that was actually said by a ring announcer, and I'm questioning what's happened to professional wrestling. Lambert and Scorpio are in the skybox, and America's top team, America's top team, American top team. Apologies if I get that wrong. I always get that wrong. Lambert, the sheepish lion Dan Lambert, says there's two guys down there, Tyron Woodley and what's left of Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes looked very, very, very lost. Now, Matt Hughes used to hit like a freaking freight train. CTE has beat his brain to shit, beat his body is beat to shit. He looked confused. He looked lost. Wardlow basically says, "Hey, I know that you're from St. Louis. Well, I'm a Midwest boy myself, and how about you don't take orders from him?" And then they throw Sterling at him, and then Wardlow hits him with a powerbomb. Okay, that was weird. Man, Matt Hughes looked really fucking lost. And FTR then gets a pop. Well, just rather Dax. Dax gets a pop. Osprey, sort of. JR, he's trying to put him over like he's a fan of Osprey's work. I mean, he might be. I mean, I don't really fucking know. And you know what? I'm actually going to surprise people here. Dax Harwood versus Will Osprey. Crowd's up for it, and this is one of the best TV matches that has happened all goddamn year. Osprey actually decided to shut up and listen to somebody who knew what the fuck they were doing. Because Osprey can do a lot of the flip-de-doo-dah shit, and even though he has ground himself at times and is trying to get to where he can wrestle, let's be perfectly honest, Osprey's ring skills are limited unless he's doing flip-de-doo-dah stuff. Or, hitting that hidden blade and that os cutter and stuff like that. That being said, Dax and Osprey crafted a pretty damn good match here. Dax sold his knee after a weird, awkward apron spot. There were heavy, echoey chops. That was something else. Dax is having a career year. FTR is having a fucking career year. FTR may end up being my favorite, wrestler of the year. I mean, I know that the tag team, but a tag team can win favorite wrestler of the year. They're really goddamn great. And then we get Germans for days. We get a 450 for 2. We get a cross body off the top for 2. We get more near falls. We get the stopped os cutter, the stopped cutter, as it were. And a slingshot bomb. 1, 2, kick out. Oh no, strikes and more moves and plenty of strikes. And then we get os cutter for 2. And then we get the hidden blade. 1, 2, 3. Osprey beating Dax. Not the worst decision in the world. Makes sense, especially considering what happened on Rampage, the 6-man match where, the first time we see Osprey in AEW programming, or at least in the ring, he didn't take the pin, but his team did. So it's natural that he would take the pin here. Or he would get the win here, and that Dax would take the pin, because then what they decided to do is unite Empire, minus Hanare. I don't think Hanare was there. A lot of camera cuts and a lot of quick movements here. While Cash, Trent, and Rocky Romero show up, and this was just... It was a mess. It was another melee mess after we had just seen that in the hair versus hair match, and also the aforementioned 20-on-1 match that was such a great fucking idea. Where is my mind? Orange Cassidy is back. Okay, and they're going to have Osprey versus Orange Cassidy in a U.S. Championship match. That is not going to move a lot of buy rates. I'm not a fan of Orange Cassidy, in case you can't tell, and whatever. If you guys are excited for it, that's fine. So, video package on Mox, and talking about, facing Tanahashi. Kevin Kelly gets included in this. Good. Maybe they could have Kevin Kelly call some of these matches at Forbidden Door, and you give JR a bit of a rest. Maybe you give JR the goddamn night off. Because JR calling New Japan Action was fucking dicey the first time, and now he's older, not really giving a shit. And it's only been a few years, but still, Kevin Kelly should be calling at least half these matches. I would say fly Chris Charlton over there, but at least get Kevin Kelly there. So anyway, wild thing, you make the Muchnix sing. Nobody has got any goddamn idea who the Muchnix are unless you are a fan of old school St. Louis wrestling. Sam Muchnick, and I'm pretty certain I'm mispronouncing that, almost 1 a.m. in the morning. And then... hell, even his nephew was on the Dark Side of the Ring episode on Jimmy Snuka. Fucking murderer, I hope he burns in hell. Jimmy Snuka, that is, not Sam's nephew. So anyway, wild thing, all that stuff and everything. Kip Sabian's still there with the bag on his face. Why is Kip Sabian just being featured there with that? Why? I mean, not even knocking Kip Sabian. If I know that he had that injury, he had a shoulder injury, wasn't that last year? Do they just have nothing better for him to do? Does he have complications from it? Are they having him wait out his contract? These are questions I'm just curious about. I mean, if that wasn't Kip Sabian, then I'd sure love to know who that is. But nevertheless, go Ace. Tanahashi gets a big pop. I'm still waiting for Tanahashi to have his own food line, or seafood line come out. Tunahashi. Thank you. I'll be here all show. So face-to-face, Moxley just does most of the talking here because, let's be honest, Tanahashi's English is limited. He did get in a couple lines at one point. And he calls himself the best wrestler in the world. Moxley does. Moxley's really good, but no. Moxley's really good when he's with the right people, but best wrestler in the world? Nah. Sorry, the deathmatch stuff kind of turns me off from that. So, when the dust is settled, Tanahashi-san, you're going to call me the ace. Then Jericho shows up along with Sammy and Ty, because that's what the show is crying out for more. That's what wrestling is crying out for more. Seeing Sammy and Ty doing this shit to the point that, look, it's your fucking fault that your relationships are out there on the goddamn internet. So don't get upset that people decide to take that shit and run with it. Maybe don't propose to people that you have no intention of fucking marrying. And maybe don't get married to people you have no intention of actually staying married to. That's a shot at both of them. So nevertheless, Jericho tells Mox, this is my spot. And Tanahashi, I beat you at Wrestle Kingdom 2 years ago. That seems like forever ago, back when New Japan crowds were allowed to be loud. And also the fact that, well, Jericho at least seemed like he was kind of trying then. Tanahashi tells him to shut up, and then the rest of the jassholes show up, and then Archer and El Desperado show up. They flew Despy over to do a stupid run-in. They flew Despy, a guy who's been having a career year in New Japan, has actually been rising up and doing some great single stuff the last couple of years. They flew him over for this, because there's Suzuki-gun, Ichiban. It's going to be Jericho, Suzuki, and Sammy against Eddie, Wheeler Yuta, and Shota Umino. I wonder if Shota was aware that he was going to be part of this, because they just said, Shota, you're going to be part of this. So anyway, it's going to be that Forbidden Door. Again, they flew Despy over for this. If Despy is not part of Rampage just to justify flying him over for this, whatever. Suzuki needs to choke out Chris Jericho after that match and just destroy him and everything, because that's what we all want to fucking see. So then O'Reilly and Fish talk about Darby and, well, breaking Sting's ankle, and Darby says he's going to break his leg, and Bobby Fish is so old that he remembers when the first leg was broken, and they didn't have the splints and everything, and they basically had to put people down like a giant horse. A horse needs to be sent to the glue factory. Basically, Bobby Fish needs to be sent to the glue factory. What I'm saying is that he's really goddamn old. Shivani is there with Tony Storm. My goodness. Tells Britt, you're really, really smart, but you're not great in the ring. That's basically what she says, essentially. And then the Reamer himself, Miro, takes on Ethan Page with Dan Lambert, the sheepish lion Dan Lambert. Lambert was all over this goddamn show, by the way. And it's an All-Atlantic, or AEW All-Atlantic Championship qualifier match. Miro gets a pop. Ethan stalls for a bit. He focuses on Miro's arm, and then during this, I did like how Excalibur mentions what IWGP stood for early on in the show, International Grand Prix, and then mentions how on the upcoming New Japan Road shows, I don't think on the 18th, but I think on the 20th, it's going to be Hanma versus Crocodile Clark Connors. If you know anything about Clark Connors' new, or at least his current gimmick, you'll understand why I call him that. That's not a knife. And it's going to be Tomohiro Ishii versus Kanemaru in, well, qualifying matches. I wonder who's going to, Connors and Ishii are going to win. Because of course they're going to fucking win. And then we're just going to get that match. I think it should be Ishii in that match, in all honesty. Nothing against Connors. Give me Ishii versus Miro. Ishii with his no neck versus Miro with his bad neck. So, nevertheless, after Ethan targets the arm, Miro eventually gets upset that Ethan mocks his faith, punches out Dan Lambert, hits a kick, game over, and clutches him for the victory. Because Miro had to win that, and Ethan was just going to be the sacrificial lamb. Ethan Page has not really meant all that much to AEW since signing. That's not even a knock on his talent. He's just been there. While his former tag team partner, that is Josh the Walking Weapon Alexander, has been killing it in Impact. And maybe 5 people have seen it, but at least he's a better champion than Moose. And again, I've shat things out that were better than Moose. So, Dante is going to take on Moxley on Rampage for some reason, and Seidel and Dante talked again for some reason. And there we go. That's what we're going to have. We have Britt with Jamie Hayter. My goodness. Totally distracting. And Rebel was also there. Taking on Tony Storm. Tony Storm with the Inspired Heart theme, and, well, it was fine with early fisting action, got a little bit awkward, and then we got distraction stuff, and Thunder Rosa ran Jamie Hayter off. Perfectly fine when Thunder Rosa showed up. I really hope that they actually decide to do something good with Thunder Rosa's reign, because she had a very good match with Serena Deeb. She can have great matches and do some great shit with the right opponents. I mean, then again, you can say that about anybody, but it just seems like since she won it from Britt, they have forgotten suddenly that she was a champion. I know that she had a recent, some kind of health scare, reportedly. I mean, I'm not actually totally sure. Hopefully she's all right. And seemingly she was, because she showed up and she ran Jamie Hayter off, and the match was a little weird. There was a feigned injury after a, hip attack, where Tony used the power of the booty and seemingly hurt Britt's nose. It seemed like Britt was bleeding a little bit. She tried for the lockjaw, but eventually got hit with Storm Zero, a stuffed pile driver. 1, 2, 3. She stuffed Britt right down there. Moving on. Rosa points at Tony and says, "Aha, I'm going to challenge you." I mean, she didn't say that, but she might as well have, because that match actually got made official for AEW versus New Japan Forbidden Door. Okay, cool. Bam. I'm happy to see that. Shivani is in with Stokely, who apparently got away from his day job, being the janitor at Munchkinland, and mentions an open challenge for Jade. Willow Nightingale shows up and says, "Hey, we have history and I want to face Jade." I'm summarizing this because Willow Nightingale tried to make the most of whatever was going on here, and I'm sorry, but Stokely, it's like watching Hans Moleman just without the funny nature about him. So Hangman gets a pop. Cowboy shit chance. Reiterates that he wants a shot at the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, and then Cole shows up. Adam Cole, baby. And at this point, I just don't care about Adam Cole. He mentions that Forbidden Door isn't about AEW or even New Japan. It's about the Undisputed Elite and Bullet Club. That would explain why they're really, really trying hard and being desperate about trying to make people watch this. Much like they're trying to make the Undisputed Elite and Bullet Club desperately more interesting than they could ever hope to be at this point. Oh, fuck, Jay White's here and attacks Paige from behind. And then says, my new era, all this Switchblade era. And also says he won't face Cole or Paige for the championship. Who's it going to be? I don't know. I don't know who the hell it's going to be. I mean, we only got one more. Did he mention who it was going to be? A lot of that shit just went by fast. Speaking of going by fast, the Hardys were supposed to be part of this ladder match, but nope, Jeff Hardy decided to be a fucking goddamn idiot. And look, I know, again, addiction is a terrible thing, and people deal with a whole lot of it, and it sucks. It absolutely sucks. I don't know what it's like to be addicted. I don't. I only know based solely on what friends, what family members have told me over the years. And there is such a thing as having sympathy and having compassion. There is that. Jeff Hardy continues to be a perpetual screw-up, and honestly, at this point, he was suspended without pay. Don't bring him back. Don't bring him back. Don't bring Matt back. Just pay Matt like a little bit of his contract. Let him go. Just let him go. Yeah, Jeff's gonna, do some kind of rehab thing. Guess what? They'll probably have him back by AEW All Out. I don't even know if they were going to necessarily be part of the pay-per-view. I mean, imagine if they had won the AEW Tag Team Championships. That would have been something. At this point, just cut your losses with the Hardys. It's not like they don't have millions of dollars, and it's not like Jeff probably shouldn't go be a goddamn family man and maybe not be on the road anymore. It's not like Matt isn't basically held together with super glue, duct tape, and paper clips that were left out in the rain for 5 years. So let's get to the match. Speaking of things that were left out in the rain for 5 years, the gimmick of the Bucks, because the Bucks, the Insuffer Bucks as it were, I have praised the Bucks when they have put together matches I have really enjoyed. They have been few and far between because their style is not for me. They took on Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, OEO, Luchasaurus, ladder match for the AEW tag titles, all because Christian Cage decided to make this, and it was the same car crash that it always was. The mother and the sister of Jungle Boy were there at ringside telegraphing that we were going to get something very violent. Tables crashes, lots of them. A 4-table spot. Shades of WrestleMania 17. And then the Bucks win. Whoopee. Cool. Okay, whatever. Christian then checks on Luchasaurus and then turns on Jungle Boy with the kill switch, hits a concerto on him, and basically says, mother and daughter, you raised a piece of shit. I mean, okay, Christian's probably, I can't imagine, after that feud with Jungle Boy, I don't know where else they're going to go with him. I would not be surprised if he maybe is done, like, right after All Out. I don't know how long his contract is, but it's just at this point, I don't know what else they could really do with him. That's really all I got to say about that. I mean, and if you don't like the fact that I blew off the Bucks match, it's the same shit that it always is. That being said, it wasn't a bad show. There were some messy points. There were some good points. Let's see what AEW versus New Japan Forbidden Door happens to bring. Hopefully stuff that isn't quite filled with as much madness and overbooking as this had. Anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.